Afternoon, Felicity.
Good afternoon. How are you, my dear?
I'm very good. I was just saying we're on episode 7, week 7.
I know. It's flown by, hasn't it? And it's been so enjoyable for us. I hope
Yeah.
people. But you've said you've had some quite nice feedback, haven't you? From
I've had
people?
some
Yeah,
really positive feedback.
lovely,
Yeah, I've had
lovely.
some women reaching out and just
Mm,
saying there's certain things that we might have said that have inspired them to move
brilliant,
forwards or maybe
brilliant,
pivot
brilliant.
slightly in what it is that they're doing in their business. Um, and that's the beauty when you're doing something that really aligns with who you are. So, like for
Yeah,
us doing this,
yeah,
we're running our own business, and Yellow Brick Roads for me is something that just really aligns with my values. And
yeah,
I just love it. I
yeah,
love
yeah, yeah.
doing it. If I wasn't being paid a penny, it's something that I would still want to get up and do every
Absolutely,
single day.
absolutely. Yeah.
And when you're doing something like that and you're actually, what you're offering is adding value to other people's lives,
Mm,
um,
yeah,
it just feels
absolutely.
great.
Definitely
So we love doing this.
totally to support people, women. I know there's men watching and listening as well, probably, that just to make new distinctions and understand that actually you're bloody brilliant, and
Yeah,
you can tap into that brilliance, your unique brilliance, and create something that you love and is worthwhile and adds
yeah,
value. And we're
yeah,
told so much, aren't we, in society, that, oh, you're not good enough, you're not slim enough, you're not young enough, you're not old enough,
yeah.
you're not this, you're not that. it's
Mm,
it's lovely. I remember when I first got into personal development, I thought development, and I realized I don't have to believe the world's version of what I should be, and it was
mm,
really liberating. So yeah, definitely the work that we do, mine focus is slightly different, with phenomenal people, a lot of conflict resolution and
mm,
supporting leaders to develop the right culture for their business so that their teams can thrive. But
mm.
ultimately, we're doing the same thing. We're supporting people to thrive and be able to be not only the best version of themselves, I've reached my full potential from a business point of view. No, I mean, that is fulfilling in one level, but actually just be the happiest version of you that
Mm.
is living a life that you love.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're
Doing
very
something that you love. So yeah,
definitely. So
episode 7.
yes. So what are we talking about this week then?
So today we were, well, I know you mentioned this, didn't you, about the creativity? How can we boost
Yeah,
creativity in
yeah,
business?
yeah, totally.
Because there's so many. I know for me anyway, when I'm thinking about what I do in business and how I'm going to, you know, take that next step to achieving my goals, we tend to follow, not always, but we look at what other people are doing. Obviously, we learn from
Mm-hmm.
other people, we do
Mm-hmm.
our own research,
Yeah,
but we can sometimes follow the same path as everybody else.
yeah, totally,
And
totally,
it's
totally.
how can we
Mm-hmm.
be a bit more creative? And I'm not saying you've got to come up with new inventions and new ideas, but just trying
Mm-hmm.
something different.
Yeah, absolutely.
um, and I know so many people want that, don't they? They're like, right, what can I do? I mean, I know just recently I've been running some Facebook adverts and they haven't been giving me the conversions that I want.
Mm.
So I've changed different things. It might be
Yeah,
the audience, it might be, the
yeah,
offer, it
yeah,
could be the actual ad, the
yeah,
copy on the ads. There's all these different things you change. But the actual system of running that advert, or the process of putting the advert out on social media, and
mm.
it tends to be that individual would then land on a that advert would take them to a landing page that maybe would take them to some offer of some
Yes,
description. Is
yes.
there a better way to do it? There's got to be
Mm.
other ways of doing it. The
Mm.
webinar, the ad, the webinar, that kind of system is quite an old system now.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's,
absolutely.
tapping into that creativity so that you can move your business forward and just coming up with maybe new ideas. So
Definitely.
that's what I thought would be good to talk about. How can we boost
Yeah.
creativity in our business and come up with creative solutions that are going to help solve our customers' or clients'
Mm, mm,
problems
mm,
or
mm.
issues?
Yeah, so I forgot I was on partly on video there. So I was thinking, and I completely switched off. If anyone's watching that on YouTube, sorry. I was just thinking about how we spark our creativity. And Emma and I had a conversation before we came on air today about that whole thing of when we're push all the time, we get out of flow, and we're getting into forcing things, and we've got an idea in our heads of this is how things should happen, like just what you've said about the ad, haven't we? You know, I paid for this ad, I've written the copy, everything matches, and I've had exactly the same experience this week, or the last week, that I put out some Facebook advertising, loads of clicks through but no conversions, and it's like, okay, what's going on, and how do I approach that differently? But we could, you know, you have to understand when things aren't working and stop being push and step back.
Definitely.
And think, instead of thinking that was a failure, it's like, okay, that's not hitting the mark, what do I need to do differently?
Yes,
that's process. But when it comes to creativity, we need to get out of that push, because it isn't creative, it's forcing instead of flowing. And I remember, you know, I read a little biography about Einstein, you know, one of the world's greatest minds of his time. Well, actually, that's an interesting point, because he wasn't necessarily the greatest mind of his time, but he was just better at PR than other people. Okay, E equals MC squared is pretty big, but he was very good at engaging people and talking. But he said that he got his best ideas sometimes when he was out walking in nature, and he was just strolling and relaxing, and just allowing, like, you know, just taking his focus off the mathematics.
Definitely. I think I was going to say exactly the same thing, not that I'm Einstein, but when
you're your own genius, my dear.
When I feel I'm not in that go all the time, which I feel like I am in all of the time, I know when it comes to even the Yellow Brick Roads, me creating and coming up with the concept for Yellow Brick Roads, where I was actually at when that came into the forefront of my mind, I was sat on the sofa, and I was actually taking some time out. I wouldn't say I was necessarily meditating, but I'd been working throughout the day. It'd been a busy day, and it was like 10 o'clock at night, and I'd sat down on the sofa in my office, and I was just having a cup of tea, and I was just literally, I closed my eyes for a bit because I felt tired, but I was still had a few more things I wanted to do. And I just took a few deep breaths. And it's actually times, I believe, or I know in my own experience, where I've been in a state of calm. When the ideas actually seem to come in.
Well, maybe it's because, and like with Einstein, you're actually allowing them space to come in. And I know definitely for me as well, and I've had ideas come to me, not only when, I mean, I love to meditate because that's so calming for me, but I've definitely had ideas come in when I'm meditating and think, oh my goodness, I like that, where did that come from? But I'll have it. And it's just being still enough and quiet enough for that voice of creativity to actually get your attention, isn't it? You know?
Definitely. And I think it's, you still need to have the end goal in sight, don't you? So you know where it is that you're going, you know what it is that you know what you want your outcome to be, but it's then allowing a bit of curiosity, I suppose, to sort of get you there. You don't have to overthink it, where you're like, I've got to come up with the solution. It's not the solution, but the process. I've got to come up with the process to get me to the end goal. Whereas actually, sometimes I think if you just allow yourself to be a bit curious and just...
Oh my goodness, totally. And we see it. I mean, I don't have children, but you've got your 3 beautiful girls, and it's the imaginations they have, isn't it?
Oh, and my goodness,
and the playfulness, that, like, the lightness of being, and the playfulness, and you know, there'll be 20 different characters during one day, won't they? You know, dressing up. I remember my friend's little girl, when she was about 2, she'd come out of the house in a tutu and her wellies and a woolly hat on. I mean, she was just, you know, and you wouldn't, you know, you'd think, well, you shouldn't. It was so endearing because she had no care about what was socially correct, whatever. It's just that this is why I'm going to put this outfit together. And she was having a lovely time. And I think we forget how to do that, don't we? We forget just how to, let's just be playful and silly. And
and just like you just said, and you hit the nail on the head, not caring about what other people are thinking.
Totally.
So like when you're sort of deciding and coming up with what you want it to be or what you want it to look like, let it really come from that inner place that feels right, you know, that the values, the things that you value, rather than be thinking, oh, I've got to do it this way because what's someone else going to say about it or what someone else are going to think. That's where creativity comes from, actually doing, not caring about what other people think, and just going sort of inside that bit more and trying to come up with a way that just works for you. Works for you. And then if it's working for you, there's a good chance it's going to work for someone else. There's the lady that wrote the book The Calling, called I've written it down, I can't see the name now, Rhea Goddess, I think her name's Rhea Goddess, but she says, stay true to the impulse but be flexible about the form.
Absolutely. Don't be so fixated about it has to happen this way. I think, and I mean, even in you know, allowing those magical synchronicities, things to come in. I know some of the work that I've got that I've enjoyed the most has all kind of been a bit coincidental. And so, you know, I've done the groundwork, I've done my training, I've done, you know, my qualifications, blah, 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 and I'm out there and people know who I am, but you just don't know where it's going to come from. Just being open to that instead of thinking, oh, well, no, that's not how I remember being invited to meet somebody to see if we could do some work together and thinking, oh, really, no, this doesn't, this, you know, I'm not getting, I don't think, he was a nice guy, but I was thinking, I don't think this is going to work out. But, and I kind of forced myself to go along to meet him. And it wasn't right until the end of the conversation, we'd had tea at a hotel and we're both like, oh yeah, you're a pleasant person. I like you, you like me, but we can't see where there was going to be any opportunity to work together. And it was right at the end when I said that my first company had been Phenomenal Women and I'd worked around, and he was like, oh my goodness, yes, that's what the missing part is for my business. I want somebody who, you know, is able to, you know, provide that insight and experience for my clients. And it just came together. But if I'd gone down the routes of my checklist, I would have not even bothered, because I had to go into town. It's like, oh, it's effort, I've got to pay for the train fare. But it's just being open to opportunities, isn't it? And having the attitude of there's always opportunities out there. Am I able to be open to them?
Be willing to listen to yourself. Be willing to listen to you, and sort of ask those questions as to what is it I want to achieve from this? What is it? What do I want my outcome to be?
Totally.
What are my expectations in line with it? You know, what is it that I'm trying to achieve?
And it's like we said in the last podcast, is asking better questions. So for that meeting, it's like, is there a potential opportunity here? Yes. Then don't write it off. Go and explore. And you can always learn something from every encounter, can't you?
Definitely. We know so much more than we think, don't we? We do know so much more than we think if we allow ourselves to.
Yes, instead of second guessing ourselves all the time. And going back to the children, when they're playing, you know, they're not thinking, oh, I don't know how to be a superhero. They just get on with it, don't they? I'm a superhero, I'm a princess, I'm a fairy, I'm a, you know, I'm Darth Vader, I'm all of these. They just do it. There's no questioning themselves. And I think sometimes that's the creativity. You just have to kind of suck it and see, jump in. And they do say, don't they, 20% of what we do generates 80% of our results. So, and understanding that it's not, you're not going to get 100% return on everything you do 100% of the time. So what else can you get from it? Well, you can learn, you can explore, you can find out about yourself, you can see what you like, what you don't like. Are my values aligned with this person? So there's always opportunities to explore. What can I learn from this situation?
And we spoke about earlier, not giving up too quickly.
Definitely.
Didn't we? Because we said, like, the persistence always wins, doesn't it? if you're persistent and you're willing to try, you're willing to learn, you're willing to try, and you're willing to overcome any sort of failure. If failure happens, which it does, then you think of, okay, how can I change it? How can I pivot? What can I do differently? Because I think we always give up too quickly. We try something.
We can do,
and I'm not just saying if someone's got a business idea and they go at it for I had a lady that she went at it for like 3 or 4 months. She tried it for 3 or 4 months and then she went, oh, I tried this, it didn't work. I didn't get response. And it's like 3 or 4 months.
It's nothing.
You have to be in it for the
long game. It's the long game. Yeah, totally.
Don't you?
Totally.
But I'm not even, not just looking at it in those terms, but also if, like we said, if you have an advert and you're putting something out there to a particular audience and you don't get the results that you want, then it's the case of, rather than just giving up,
totally,
go, right, well, let's change something, let's amend something, let's test something else, and you'll try something else, and that may not work, or you may get a certain return on investment, and then you try something else. But it is always that persistence and that ability to just
consistency is a big thing. I mean, going back to that lady, 3 to 4 months, it actually might have been that she found out that she didn't love what she was doing enough to carry on with it. So, again, there's always a learning in that. And with the ads, it's, you said about failure. I think, I think it's Deepak Chopra, I've heard say this, that in every failure is the seed of success. But you have to pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and keep going. It may be that you have discovered that that's not what you wanted to do, and that's valuable too. But it doesn't make it a failure, does it?
No, of course not. Definitely not. That's the thing, isn't it? Sometimes I feel like we feel like we should be following suit. Oh,
Totally.
so-and-so's done it that way, so if we do it that way, we're going to get the success that we want.
Totally.
Just because something's worked for someone else, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. It's so, and I think that comes down to your values. That comes down to you doing something, like we say about at the very beginning, with us even doing the podcast, and where that came from. But that definitely comes back from doing something that's in line with really who you believe yourself to be.
Totally. And I think something else about the podcast with us is that we loved our conversation so much that we decided that, to do the podcast, maybe it would be helpful for other people, and that was our hope and our intention. However, if nobody ever listened to it, we really enjoy the conversation that we're having, which is inspiring and motivating for each other, let alone if anybody else gets the benefit of it. That's wonderful. Really delighted.
Yeah, but I think it's that importance, isn't it? Don't be afraid don't feel like you have to follow the formula all of the
absolutely. I mean, be wise about it as well. Obviously, you need to kind of, like with the Facebook advertising we've talked about, you don't want to, okay, that didn't work, but maybe if I just carry on a bit longer. You need to know when to cut your losses, but be wise about it and make sure you're not cutting them too early.
Yes.
And, invest as much, have a boundary around what you're investing, time wise, money wise, etc. But it's important to stay caught up in the joy. As we've said this, haven't we? What's your why? What makes you joyful in what you're doing? And all of those things help you tap into your creativity, because it creates that, that's why I'm doing this. I really love this. And I know it can make a difference in people's lives, and understanding it's not going to be every single person all the time. I was listening to Jay Shetty, and I love his work, and his mission is to make wisdom go viral. And he's out in his, this is not knocking him in any way, he's like 33, and he's saying, if you're going to help people, you want to help as many people as you can. You want it to be, help almost everyone you can in the world. Well, that's not my mission. But then I'm older and I'm not older and like worn out, but I'm older and more life experienced. My mission might not be to support millions of people. But maybe my mission is to support hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people, hopefully. But we have to understand all of our mission, purpose, I think. I don't want to make it sound too heavy. it's different for everybody. So as much as I really, really love Jay Shetty and think he's doing an amazing job, that's not my purpose to help millions of people necessarily. If it happened, fabulous, but that's not what I'm pushing for.
Yeah, yeah, totally. But that's comes from you knowing exactly what
That's
it is
right.
that you
Yeah.
want, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you know what it is that you want, and then you allow yourself time, and you're patient with yourself, and you're
Yeah.
not necessarily, it's that chug, 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 isn't it? If you're
Totally.
chugging all of the time, it then can become so,
Oh,
it
hard
becomes
work.
tiring, and it's
Yeah.
hard
Yeah.
work, and then you do lose the
Yeah.
creativity, because the
Yeah.
fun of it just tends to
Yeah. It just becomes,
side.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's important that when you're doing what you love, creativity is part of it, isn't it?
Totally. And that's why we need the balance, because you're not going to be creative 24 hours a day. So you're going to have moments, sparks, flashes of creativity. Sometimes you're going to be in the flow of it. And I remember when I was nearly over 10 years ago now, I wrote a novel called Changing the Channel. And some days I'd kind of like be pushing paper around for hours and, oh God, I've got to write this. And I'd write it out of sheer determination. And other times I'd get into it and I'd look at the clock and I'd been writing for 3-4 hours.
Didn't even realize.
Realize it. But you know, and you are not at that creative place 24 hours a day. And it's understanding that and understanding your rhythms. When do I feel most creative?
Yeah.
When you feel inspired, get on and do something.
Yeah.
When you're feeling sluggish, maybe do your admin or get outside for a walk. But we do have to have the balance, don't we?
Yeah. Rest up.
Balance. Yeah.
Take some time out if you're feeling a bit tired, and you want to be a bit more creative. Go into a more of a relaxed environment, somewhere where you can be a bit more calm, and sort of nurture and resource yourself.
Yeah. Totally. Totally.
And you mentioned about, which I loved, when we spoke about talking about creativity this week, and you've just been talking about it especially when you're referring back to children and how they are, and their playfulness, but about not taking yourself too seriously.
Yes.
And not making it such a serious event. I've got to get this done, because if I can come up with this solution, or if I can come up with this formula, or if I can come up with this whatever,
totally,
and everything will be sorted and it'll all be great. Well, it won't, because there'll be something else. But just not taking it too seriously.
Yeah. In fact, I've been meaning to tell you this. So we talked about, I put a pop-up on my site. So, when people are about to leave the website, the pop-up comes up and offers a free ebook. And I was so excited. I got my first opt-in and I was like, yay. And when I went over, I can't remember exactly what the website address was, but basically it was from a porn site.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't really necessarily want to assist someone in that industry to have a difficult conversation. What are they going to do? Persuade their girls to take off even more, or to be in more outrageous positions? But I did have to laugh at myself. I was just like, yeah, really? So, there you are. Triumph. But yeah, you just have to laugh at it, don't you? And just think, I think one of the things I saw very much in corporate, and you're ex-corporate, you're ex-banking, so it's even more like this, is there's the whole mask thing, isn't it? You've got the standards and you're supposed to be this and you're supposed to be this person and these results and and God, that's exhausting. And there's no creativity in that when you're wearing a mask all the time, is it? You're putting all your energy into keeping up a facade.
Definitely. And I just think the hours that Merrill Lynch, it's an American bank, and the American banks, they work so many hours. And the hours, I'd sometimes come in some mornings and the analysts would be asleep under the desk. They'd just stayed there the whole night. They'd literally not gone home. And how can you be creative coming from that place? You just can't. But that's the other thing I find, that when it comes to me and my creativity with what I'm doing, and maybe coming up with new ideas, it comes from having conversations like this, speaking to people that have got similar values to you, and have got similar ideas to you, and that are that have got similar backgrounds, ideas, values,
Yeah.
chatting to those sorts of people. So if you are struggling, if there is something that, there's a question you keep asking yourself and you're thinking, right, I really want to try and be creative
Yes.
around getting to that
Yes.
outcome,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you're
yeah.
and you're struggling with it a bit, then read or watch videos on YouTube about it, or speak to somebody that you
Yeah.
find inspiring, or
Yeah.
connect with people that have got similar values, because you'll be amazed
Yeah.
when you start doing that, how many ideas come up just from
Yeah.
hearing what
Totally,
someone
totally,
else says.
totally. And just like you said, what are the things that, what are your patterns? We talked about this. What are your habits and patterns that lift you up? One of my things is I love to dance, and I've got this great program, Body Groove. So it gives me 20-30 minutes of dancing. And when I do that and I'm getting into my body and I'm moving my body and I'm just in flow, I'm not doing it for any end goal apart from to feel good. And it always lifts me up. And I always think, oh yeah, at the end of it, I'm like, oh, okay. And I just feel more my best self, happiest self.
Yeah.
And it's remembering to do those things, going for a walk on the beach. We're both very fortunate that we're close to the beach, aren't we? Going on a bike ride, hanging out at socially distance with friends in our bubble, whatever, I'm sure for you, and playing with the girls, that must really spark your creativity and your love for life to see them.
They're amazing. And like you say, there's no real fears there, little Ruby as well, when you said about her coming down in her wellies, and she was going off to her forest school yesterday, and she's got her wellies on, and she decides what she wants to wear, and she gets herself dressed, and it's all sorts of stuff, but she don't care. As far as she's concerned, she looks great,
fabulous.
And she's going for it. So you can learn so much from them. You really
totally can. And it's the love for life, isn't it? They love life at that age. There's no, oh God, I don't want to get out of bed, I feel depressed, life's too hard. They're like, yay, it's the new day. What can we get into? What can we learn? What can we explore? So but they laughter as well.
They haven't had so much time sort of creating their comfort zones as what we have as we age, have they?
Or their should zones. I should be like this. I should be like that.
It should be like that. Totally.
Yeah, totally.
So I think if we can be bold and take risks, step outside our comfort zone,
and do what makes us laugh, particularly if it's at ourselves. Because again, with children, they're just giggling all the time, aren't they?
You don't have to follow suit. You can create your own way, can't you?
Totally. And I think initially when you start business, it's great to kind of get support, get advice, start modeling people that you admire maybe initially, but remember that you're a unique person and your gifts are unique to you, and you will probably, they'll be expressed most fully and most effectively if you do it in line with who you are.
Definitely.
But make sure you've got, back, as Emma said, and we've said in previous podcasts, make sure you've got your tribe around you that are going to be your cheerleaders, not say, oh, well, that's not a very good idea. And we have to say as well, don't we? I know your Matt is just wonderful and really supportive, but it's not necessarily your family or your partner that's going to be your biggest cheerleader. It'd be lovely if they were, but they may not get where you're coming from. So make sure you've got people around you that are going to support your passions and your your dreams, and give you wise advice as well, because there's the other extreme of people like you can do it, and actually there's no substance to it. So make sure you've got the balance of support.
Definitely. Well, thank you, my darling.
It's been
that was a
wonderful
great little
as
chat.
Ever.
We will catch up next week.
Definitely.
Have a lovely rest of your day and your week, and I will speak to you soon.
Definitely. Have a creative, joyful day, Em.
I will, my darling. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.